reality is that unless the church identifies and addresses this, it's going to be something that's going to overwhelm us.
I was done. I mean, I was completely done with it. I didn't want anything to do with him.
There's an opinion that you have of yourself that I have to fix them because I am the pastor. And yet oftentimes I'd find myself in those moments feeling frustrated because I couldn't help them, because the ABCs of pastoring weren't working.
More than ever, we see people coming into the church, the body of Christ, with life-altering addictions.
I think it's a very common and a real issue that the church has to address now. We don't have any choice.
There's such a need here. There's such a need. And if you just follow any of the statistics, do a little homework about those who are struggling with addiction, brokenness. Oh, by the way, go down the line, not only drugs, but pornography, sexual abuse, sexual addiction, gambling. You start dealing with food issues, and there's just so many things that control us and we have no control over, and we need God's help.
It's not only at our doorstep, it's in our doors. And so we're kind of forced with this place of, okay, what do we do with broken people that we're not even gathering in, that are actually sitting amongst us?
And I think any congregation or any church leader that can't see that might be in a little bit of denial.
The hopelessness in my life was so bad that I literally wanted to go to sleep and never wake up. I was doing alcohol and prescription drugs, mostly psych drugs for depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress.
He had to make the phone calls. He had to get the money. Our pastors really protected me. They knew how he manipulated. There was a phase that he had to get through himself without me.
I met with Pastor Ron, and he told me about the program, and I filled out the application, and on the way home, God spoke to me and said, "This is where you're going to be healed."
One of the ladies in our church said it best. Somebody asked her why she went to this church where they have all this recovery and they have all this, and she goes, "I want to come to a church where my son, who's an alcoholic, is welcomed."
In September of 2008, I was in my room at New Heart Place. I really had a heart to start a New Heart in Maple Valley because I know that there are so many Christian men out there with a secret that
Women.
they don't, and men and women that don't think that they have anybody they can talk to, that they can trust. I wrote a letter to Pastor Ed, and I said, my hope is to start a New Heart at Generational Hope Christian Center in Maple Valley. And I graduated June of 2009. August, we started praying in some leadership. And I think it was December, we started with 12 awesome leaders all in a group that we prayed in.
We see success in life, not just 5 years, 10 years, but we want to see generations impacted, that they can carry on a godly marriage, that they can raise godly children, that they could be godly grandparents.
I would love nothing more than to help churches get started in their own New Hearts. We as a foundation can help equip them with the materials, with the resources, with how to launch it, what not to do.
New Heart Foundation has been a tremendous tool and asset to us to be able to deliberately disciple people.
There's structure, yes. There's materials, yes. There's help, yes. But at the same time, it can take on the personality of what's going on in that local church.
And New Heart Ministry is an incredible tool where you can help equip your people to serve the needs of the broken.
Some of the people who were sitting on the pews and just kind of wondering what to do have become the spiritual parents to people who have never had even biological parents.
You would be surprised how many people in your church will say, yes, I want to be involved, because when we started ours, volunteers was not an issue.
It's worth it because there are some people that started coming to New Heart that are productive members of our church.
It's really brought life because you start seeing people come and be dramatically transformed. It gets people excited.
Their hope is restored, their faith is restored, and it's totally worth the time and it's worth the effort.
We have people here that no longer say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic." They say, "I'm so-and-so and I'm redeemed by the blood of the Lamb."
I've been a pastor in the Seattle area, just like you, serving the family of God as a shepherd of a whole congregation. When I got here 25 years ago, I think the general assumption was that since we lived in a suburban part of the greater Seattle area, that we really did not have a broken and hurting population in the congregation. I think that was rather naive on all of our parts. We just needed to recognize that and be willing to go outside of ourselves to establish ministries like New Heart Healing and Recovery on Monday nights. And right now, almost 75 to 100 people show up every Monday night, many of them not even attending church yet, but knowing that there's a place here where they are loved, a place where they can be encouraged, and a place where they can hear the delivering message of Jesus Christ. Not only did we need a ministry that ministered to people coming to us on Monday nights, but we needed a residential program where people coming to us with some deep-seated issues could spend at least a year in a residential discipleship ministry like New Heart Place. By the end of their year discipleship, they are a part of the family of God here, and they're restored to their spouses, restored to their children, and the family of God embraces them. And then the rest of their discipleship ministry gets to be lived out right here in the family of God.
Pastors, my challenge or encouragement to you would be this. When all is said and done and we're in heaven and worshiping the Lord, are we going to reminisce about how good our churches were and all of the great people? Or has God called us, who have already been redeemed, to give our lives away to see the hurting and the broken healed and restored and delivered and set free? I encourage you to open up your heart and say, God, I want to be deliberate and diligent at not only reaching the lost, but seeing them brought to wholeness and life and adopted into the family of God, which will not only change their life, but it will change their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren's lives.